All right. Hello, hello. Happy Thursday. Happy April already. It's crazy. Okay, so we're going to get you started today with an upper body strength and core session. Some specific equipment that we're going to be using today, including our bench, our chair, our ottoman, the back of our couch, whatever it is that you have. We are going to be using it for some stuff. And I have my 8-pound dumbbells, my loop bands, lots of stuff today, and then I will also be incorporating our long bands, but you actually don't need any of that to start because we're going to start off body weight, and we're going to start off down on the floor in our all four positions. So come on, down here, get on your hands and your knees. We want to make sure that our shoulders are stacked on top of our wrists, hips on the knees. We're going to take one hand, put it behind our head, reach this elbow down towards the top of that opposite hand. Take a big breath in, and then we'll exhale and open up as far as we can. 10 reps on each side. Every time we open, again, we're breathing out and seeing if we can get a little bit further and closer, rather, towards looking at that ceiling above ourselves. So we'll follow that elbow with our eyes, again, coming towards the hand, but not bending this non-moving arm. And we're doing 10. So let's get it started. 10 on this side. Exhaling as we open, trying to limit the movement in the legs and the hips. In fact, we want no movement in the hips and the legs. Just that mid-back, upper back, opening and closing as we go through 10. And then we're going to switch and do the other side and do 10. There you go. All right, so that's our first one. Always feels nice to kind of loosen up the mid and upper back. Once you're done, we're going to stand up, swing out our arms, palms face the floor. We're going to go through our infamous arm swings, 20 of them total, letting the arms fall behind the body, opening up the chest, crossing the arms, alternating which one goes up, which one goes down. Good morning, brain. We're going to get a little coordination going. So we'll go through 20 of these, kind of letting gravity, momentum do its thing on these arm swings. Once we are finished, 20, you don't have to count this next part. We're going to keep the palms facing down. You guys are on a timer. So we're going to go through 15 seconds, which I'm going to start right about now, palms facing down with these little arm swimmers. The intention of these is to get the shoulders burning, to get that lactic acid released in the shoulders, that burning sensation. That's what we're going for. So hopefully we're starting to feel it. And if we don't, we will in the next one, where we're going to turn our palms to the screen and do the same thing forward and backward now. So we have another 15 seconds on the clock. Trying to keep our arms up in this T position. My shoulders are already burning. Hopefully yours are too. Straight arms, open palms, high chest. Oh yeah, we're breathing. 5 seconds left. 4, 3, 2, and we'll relax those arms. We're going to have big shoulder rotations while keeping our arms down by our sides. Going through 5 of them in one direction, as big as we can make them while keeping those arms relaxed. 5. And then we will go through 5 the other way. So take your sweet time, trying to make, again, these circles as big as possible, just moving through the shoulders, arms stay straight, and we're standing up nice and tall. And we will go through these ones, 5 and 5. Now, as we finish up those circles, this next one, you're going to want to grab onto that long band. So I'm going to hold this guy as wide as I can. Just one hand on each side, passing through there and back is 1. We're going to do 10 of these total. If you don't have the band, then you can just have your arms up to the sides, palms facing backwards, and then we'll open up and just pass over and back, imagining that we didn't have that band. And we will go through again 10 of these total. This should be relatively comfortable to get behind the body. So if you are kind of tight and not feeling like you can get back there, we'll try to widen up the hands a little bit more on that band. All right, so 10 times there and back, warming up the shoulders. Once you are finished, we're going to narrow out the hands. So they're a little bit wider than our shoulders like this. Same rules apply if you don't have a band, and you just hold your hands here. We're going to press up and over our head, bringing that band behind the head, onto the back of the shoulders, maybe making contact if we can. And then we'll press all the way up and over our head. I know my arms are getting cut off, but we're going straight all the way up, back to the collarbones. That's 1. We're going to do that 5 times total. So we're keeping those arms about shoulder width, or a little wider than shoulder width apart. And again, we're trying not to move the head out of the way. We want to tap into that shoulder mobility
and to make the shoulders and the arms do the work to get back behind the head onto the back of the shoulders. So we'll go there and back 5 times total. There you go. And we have one more with this band, so don't get too excited about putting it down. We're going to keep the hands in that same position and work with our band pull-aparts. So we're going through 20 reps, trying to wake up, warm up, activate all of the things in the back of our shoulders and our upper back. So we want to keep the band tight so we never see it go loose like this. For those of us who do not have a band, we're in this bent over position, thumbs up, and we're going to open up the arms, getting that same work in the upper back, going through 20 reps total of those ones. All right. So I'll let you guys go through those. As you finish up those, we're going back to these arm swings, ones we had at the beginning, counting out 20 of them, maybe feeling a little bit looser after doing all that other stuff. 20 total, again, alternating the up and the down. And then we are going to get you started on our first 2 exercises. So what we're going to do as you finish up your 20, today we have a seated shoulder press. So I'm going to grab onto my chair, or you might not even need to grab onto it if it's just there, that's okay. Picking up our dumbbells, preferably, we're going to load them up into our neutral position and have a seat. So we're sitting here, which is going to help us take that core work out of the picture so we can just focus on our upper body. We don't want to have our back on that chair or bench. We want to be sitting, so we have to support ourselves. Neutral grip. So I'm going to turn so you guys can actually see me in the front here. 1 is going to press up and come back down 10 times total, while this other dumbbell just hangs out right there, waiting for its turn. So you can start your first set of these ones here. Again, sitting up nice and tall. For those of us who don't have somewhere to sit, it's okay. You can just do this one standing. But ideally, we do want to sit down. So that way, again, we don't have as much work going on here. We're going to have lots of core work today. So we don't want to necessarily have that work in here. Hence why we are sitting. So we're going to go through 10 on this side. And then we'll switch and do 10 on this side. Shoulders, like you might feel like you want to, while we finish up our 10 reps over on this side. For those of us who are dumbbell-less, what we're going to do is hold a loop band and do that same press with a single and the single. Okay, so that's our first exercise. We're going to pair this with something, a lateral raise, another shoulder movement. So once you're finished those ones, 10 and 10, we're going to stand up, arms down by our sides, working with our lateral raise, going through 12 to 15. We have a range here. So we can stop at 12, or we can go up to 15. This really depends on what weight you have. We don't want to go up if we're having to sort of use the legs to lift up. We want to rely strictly on the shoulders, lifting up into that T. 12, maybe 15. For those of us who are stuck with sort of lighter weights, we can pause this top position here. I would prefer a more challenging 12 over a kind of easy 15. So if you want to make it a bit harder for yourself, holding there for a second or two, every rep is going to do that. All right, so that is our first superset. We are going to repeat this, but before we do, cat fight going on in the back here. Before we do, we're going to rest a little bit. So we have this 30 to 45 second rest period because we have shoulders on shoulders, which we're probably feeling, especially after all those warm-up movements. So again, we're going to rest, grab a little bit of water, take this 30 to 45 seconds. We'll keep it under a minute. And we have 3 more rounds of these 2 movements together. So again, we'll take this time. Once that time is up, we're going to have a seat once again and go back into our single arm press, counting out again 10 reps on each side. So we're going 10 over here, and then we'll switch 10 over here. And reminder to not rest those dumbbells on your shoulders. We want to keep them slightly hovering, not quite up in that kind of horrible, I want to say, 90-degree position, but rather we're going to be down here. But again, we'll have some space between the dumbbell and the shoulder. Going through again 10 and then 10. On to our second set. So we'll go through these ones. And for those of us who are not using dumbbells, because you probably don't have them if you're not using them, or maybe they're not the right weight, either you have really heavy dumbbells or really light ones, you can always use a band as well to go through these lateral raises. Again, 12 to 15. So you're in control. You can either stop at 12, go up to 15, but I do encourage you guys to try your best to make 12 feel so hard that we do not want to do 15. Okay, some of us, that's easier said than done, and you're going to benefit a lot more from getting those extra 3 reps in, but and adding a little time at the top and or taking more time to lower down to the bottom are 2 techniques that you can use to make your weights feel like they are actually heavier than they are, because I get it. Some of us are stuck with, little 5-pounders or even 8 pounds, which might be, a little bit too light. On the flip side of that, if you are on the heavy side, something that you can do is add a slight bend into the arms. So rather than having those arms completely straight, like we want them, if we have that slight bend, we got Dusty down here with us, it's going to take some leverage off of those weights and essentially make them feel lighter and easier. So we can go through those. And she really wants to come and join us for this session. Hello. Okay, so once we're finished those ones, we're going to rest a bit. Once again, that 30 to 45 seconds of rest in between these sets. And you're going to feel your shoulders burning. And again, that burning sensation is that lactic acid. And the shoulders, the delt muscles, they hold a lot of it compared to other things, which is why we feel like they burn so much. So to help you feel that a little bit less between our sets, you would like, you can swing out your arms, maybe do a set of 10, maybe 15 of these. You can also do these circles in the shoulders just to help sort of disperse that burning sensation that you are most likely feeling. And that is done in that 30 to 45. Once you're finished, we're going to go, into our 3rd set. I'm going to sit on her back there. Back to this one here. Again, we have 2 more rounds of this shoulder-focused superset. So we'll go back into that first one. Again, one arm pressing up over the head, 10 and 10. We want to come right up and out of that shoulder and back down, not wide and not right in front of the shoulder, kind of in that sweet spot there. There you go. Okay, so we'll get through this 3rd set. We have 1 more after this one. So we'll take our sweet time. We have lots of time, about 3, maybe 4 minutes left to finish up this set and our final one. There you go. So we'll take out the sweet time with it in the set as well as with our rest. Just try to keep the rest under a minute. And again, for those of us who are maybe feeling a little bit antsy, like if you finish your laterals, and you feel like you're ready to go right back into the presses, let's try to make that set a little bit harder so that you actually feel like you need that rest. Okay, so you have 1 more chance, 1 more opportunity on this last set to get that feeling going on for yourself. And because we're all stuck with different equipment, different weights, different options, you might have to do a little bit of a different technique in order to really feel these sets. All right, very nice. So we'll finish up strong there. Again, perfect time to grab some water in between these sets. So we'll put those weights down. We'll take some of these nice deep breaths. Grab a couple sips of H2O, and then we will get going here on our final set of these 2. The shoulder focus. We got shoulders on shoulders. So again, going back into this first one, sitting up nice and tall. Same rules apply with this one. If you do want to make your last set a little bit more challenging, because we're only doing 10 on each side, if we take longer to do this set, so if we simply slow down, especially specifically the down phase, that lowering phase of this press, now if we take longer on those 10, number 1, this guy's going to be hanging out here longer, and we know that it kind of burns over there just to hold this weight in place. Number 2, this working arm, the pressing arm, is going to get more time under tension. It's going to make your entire set feel a lot more challenging than if you go sort of more at a normal pace. So again, this is our last set, our last one. So let's try to make it hard for ourselves. We don't want to feel like we can get more than that prescribed amount of reps. So 10 and 10. And then we'll finish off with our 12 to 15 lateral raises. So it's not necessarily better to do 15. I'd rather, again, try to make 12 so hard that if you were to go up to 15, it'd be a little wobbly, a little bit ugly. So we'll try to see if we can get that going on here in this final set. Okay. Let's get it. Plug us in. All right. So we'll work through this final set. Again, breathing through those reps. Try and take her nice and slow. Make that 12 as challenging as possible. See, maybe if we can push up to 15. Okay, for this final set. And then we shove this again a little bit and celebrate the fact that we are done that first superset. Once we're finished these lateral raises, we're gonna move on to the next pair of exercises, which is all about our back muscles. So the one piece of equipment that I did not mention that you could potentially use is a TRX, and that might come into play on this next one, which is going to be a one-arm row. So you guys already know that I do not have the setup for the TRX, so I'm going to be using my bench, or my chair rather, and my dumbbells to do this one-arm row. I'm going to take both of these dumbbells here and double them up to create a nice, heavy 16-pound dumbbell. We're going to have one knee on our chair, hand on our chair, dumbbells in this opposite hand here, and then we're working with a neutral grip row. So as we pull in, we want to pull into this more narrow grip position, but we don't want to tuck and hug the arm onto the body. We want space there so we're not feeling that contact between the two. So as you finish up those laterals, we are going to get started on this one here. We're working with 10 reps once again on each side. Now, the back muscles, these big back muscles that run down the sides of your back, they're very strong, especially compared to our shoulders. So if you're like me and you're kind of stuck with light-ish weights, what we're going to do is pull in and hold for 1, 2, maybe 3 seconds. Every single rep, we want to be very active in that shoulder, pulling that shoulder behind the ear, getting that 90-degree position in the arm. 10 reps on this side. So again, we want lots of movement here. From the way down, we want to allow that shoulder to come forward. And then as we pull up, we want to pull that shoulder and wrap it back behind our ear. So let's go through this first set here. 10 on this side, and then we will switch and do 10 on the other side. Now I have this bench set up here for a reason. Once again, we're trying to take that extra additional core work out of the picture here. And we have lots later on in the session. So by having my knee and my hand on this bench, I am again trying to support my core so that I don't have to use it as much as if we were just doing this in a bent over position. For those of us who don't have the chair or bench, we can bring ourselves to a wall like this, put our hand on the wall, and then we can go through those rows with that same intention of that arm giving us that core support. 10 reps on each side. All right, let's get it. Now, for those of us who don't have dumbbells, you're going to use a band, loop it underneath that foot, and then you can go through your set of 10. Same pause. Keep in mind, we can always double up. So if you have more than one band, you can put 2 underneath that foot in the hand, and it's going to make your set just that much harder. There you go. All right. So this is our first of 2 movements. The second one, we actually need some space. So thankfully my chair is nice and light. I'm going to be sort of moving it in and out of the way between my sets. The second exercise, we have our Superman with a pull-in. Now we want some tension for our upper body. So I'm going to grab onto my long band here and hold it in that just wider than shoulder width position like so. And then we're going to lay on down onto the floor on our tummy. Make sure we have some space in front of us. Arms are straight. We want to make sure that we're not touching the floor. Feet, legs are down. They're not going to lift. We're going to pull in and hold for, again, 1, 2, maybe 3 seconds. And then release, reaching those arms out. Same range as we had on those laterals, 12 to 15. So you can stop at 12. or you can push up to 15. And we're gonna go through this one here, trying to again keep tension on that band the entire time. And for those of us who don't have a band, we can just, of course, use our hands like this, but that band, holding that band sideways is gonna help us incorporate a lot more through the back and sides of our shoulders as we go through our set of 12 to 15. There you go. And again, this one is all about your back, which I probably don't need to tell you because you probably feel it a lot, sort of, and running down the sides of your backs as well as between the shoulder blades. So we're gonna go through that set. Once again, we shall take some rest. The good news about these supersets is that we have some time between them. So once you're finished the Superman set, we're gonna stand up. Once again, taking about 30 to 45 seconds to just rest, okay? And this is because we have this in here for a reason. We're not going right into the next set because we're working basically the same or very similar muscles on both of these, the row and then the pull in here. So we want to allow those muscles to rest before we go right into our next set, and that is so that we can have a stronger set. All right, so we'll take that time, and again, you should be feeling like you need that rest. And if you're not, if you're feeling antsy and you just want to get going on your second set, then you have to make these harder for yourself so that you, again, feel like you need the rest, okay? So 30, 45 seconds. And then we are going to go into our second set, back into this one arm row. Okay, so again, we want that palm facing inward the entire time. We're not rotating. We are pulling in and slightly out and around the rib cage, adding that optional pause. So for those of us who are, have a arrangement of dumbbells, if you have heavier weights, you might not need to pause. Okay, you might have something heavy enough that you pull in and it's going to be hard for 10 reps, in which case you're good to go. But again, for those of us who are maybe using bands or stuck with something on the lighter side like me, that pause is going to make a huge difference. So much more out of these sets, even if it's, again, a 1 or 2 second pause, or maybe you want to go all the way up and hold it for the full 3 seconds. Whatever you do, we're going to try to stay consistent throughout that whole set. So if you hold it like that for the first rep or 2, we're going to try to do that for all of the reps, not just the first half of them. And yeah, that's the hard part. Because I know it kind of creeps up on you. Again, it's only 10 reps. Again, we'll try to make it challenging for ourselves. All right, let's get it. So 10 and 10. And all these same rules apply if you're using a TRX or the bands, whatever it is. That pause is going to then crank it up a notch, whether you want it or not. It's optional, of course. And then again, we're going to go into our second set of the Supermans. So you can lay down on your tummy, grab onto your band, and then again, go through your set. Reminder on these Supermans, we want to make sure we're not pointing the elbows up to the ceiling. So if I was laying on my tummy, I want to take my elbows and drive them down into the floor. And you'll feel the difference that makes. It's going to allow you to actually use these lat muscles, these big back muscles that run down the sides here. Whereas if I'm pointing my elbows up, you might feel it a little bit, but you're going to also be using the shoulders to kind of assist. It's our body, it's always trying to make stuff easier on us without us even knowing or recognizing it. And that's something that happens, is that little flare. So this is your reminder to tuck in those elbows towards the floor in order for you to really get that going on back there. All right, and then we rest, and then we rest. So we have 2 more rounds with the same time in between. And enjoy the rest, my friends, because there is not, a lot after this in the next set. And then in the last part, which is our core, we do not have this in-between rest. So I'll enjoy it while it's here. And grabbing water, taking some deep breaths, contemplating our lives. And then we're going to go into our set number 3. There you go. So we have lots of time with this one. We have about 6 minutes. until we should be starting the next part, which is also the last part to our strength. Look at us go. So we'll try to, again, get through it efficiently, but also, again, take our time with these movements. Add those pauses in if we need them. And again, you might not take as long as someone who is pausing, and that is completely fine. The most important thing is that you are feeling challenged by whatever weight and whatever tempo you are using. So again, that prescribed rep range, in this case, the 10, and we have the 12 to 15. We should not be thinking in our head like, oh, I could probably keep going. I could probably go up to 12 or 15 on the rows. I just want 10. Okay, so whatever you need to do to make 10 feel extremely challenging, let's try to bring it in here. And pausing or simply slowing down, that is gonna crank that up, that extra little notch that you might need in order to really feel this. Yes, okay, let's do it. So we should be on our third set, going through these ones. Awesome, okay. And breathing through these ones, we want to think about using that breath within these exercises, especially because they should be very hard. So we want to use that exhale, that breath on the hardest part, the pulling in on the Supermans, the pulling in on the rows. We want to exhale, breathe out as we're going through those points, which make them feel maybe a little bit more manageable. We know that breath is our power, so it's always going to help us power through those last few reps that, again, feel like we are really working it back there. So that's how we should feel here, especially on this third set. Maybe one more. So if you're not feeling any of this stuff, I've given you oh so much to think about on this set as well as your last one. Okay, let's get it. So again, elbows down to the floor. Feeling your lower back. I'm trying with all of my might to take the lower back out of the picture. That's why we have our knee on the bench, again, so we don't have to use the back to support us as we're going through the rows. And also on the Supermans, why we keep the feet and legs glued to the floor. So if you are starting to feel a little bit of lower back pain, it might not even be pain, it might just be like work happening in the low back. Reminder, specifically on the Superman here, that we need to keep the legs down. Because if we're lifting even a little bit with the feet or even a little bit with the chest off the floor, we're going to be using those low back muscles, which we do not want. There's a time and a place to work them. This is not the time or the place in this superset. So this is our reminder on this final round to really keep our upper body down. And again, try to just lift the hands up, elbows down to the floor, and keep that tension on the band. All right, let's get it on this last set. So a rest. Yes, we have about 2 minutes to finish her up before we are going to start talking about the last part, which is a nice strength circuit that we're going to go through. And then we got the core. Okay. So we'll finish up strong here. Final set of these two. Let's get, okay, strong finish. Taking your time with it to make your reps feel challenging. All right. Again, the last set of these Supermans should really be feeling up, especially because the combination of these two movements, the rows and those pull-ins, again, if you need to feel it a little bit more, which is maybe something that you don't need to think about, but it might be something that you do need to think about, we'll try to hold that in here. Again, maybe 1, 2, even 3 seconds before you let go. Every single one of those 12, 15, And then you'll get that work feeling in your back muscles, which is why we are here. So you can get that work back there. All right, so I'm going to give you guys about 1 more minute, 60 more seconds to finish up your final set of Supermans. Again, maybe it's going to take you this entire minute because you're going so slow. That's okay. You have 1 minute to yourself. If you are already done, we are just going to rest a little bit. We can grab some water. And then move on to the last part, which is going to need all of this stuff, plus maybe a little bit more. As we finish up this last set of Supermans, we have one exercise in this next part here with an optional anchored band. We have this movement, our wood choppers that we have been working on as of late, which we are going to start off with in this last tri-set. So we have 3 movements that we're going to circuit through back to back to back. Little to no rest in between each movement, as well as between each round. I already kind of warned you about that. So if you have a long band, and if you have somewhere to anchor it to, something stable, like this here bookcase that's not going to move if I am to pull on it, what I'm going to do is take my band and loop it through one another here, so that it is now attached to that low point. Now, for those of us who don't have this band, completely okay. What you're going to do is grab onto a dumbbell, and we're going to work with the dumbbell chop across the body like so. We're going through 10 reps on each side with a slow focus on the return. So as I come up to the top, I'm going to take 1, 2, 3, 4 seconds to get back down to the bottom. 2, 3, 4. We want to keep the hips squared off to the camera here, but we want our shoulders and our torso to move through the midsection so that we're rotating and getting that core work, because that's what this one is all about. So when you're ready, we're going to start our first set. Again, we can use the band, or we can hold a dumbbell in our hands. We're going to grab the band, loop that hand across, and then we'll come up and across the body. 1, 2, 3, 4. We're doing 10 reps on each side. 2, 3, 4. So by having that slow return phase, we're avoiding just falling back into that start position. So that's where we're really going to get the work today, is that control as we come back to that return, that start point there. We're only doing 10 on each side, so we'll go through 10 on the side, and then we'll switch, and we'll go through 10 on the other side. Again, if you're using the dumbbell, we just switch what side we start on, and we will go through this set, trying to keep the arms straight, but the elbows soft. We don't want arms completely locked out, and you'll probably know if that's happening because we'll feel a little bit of tension, not the best tension in that inner part of our elbows, and you'll know to kind of slightly bend your arms because you'll feel that. Okay, so this is our first one. Very nice. We have 2 more movements that we are going to pair with this. The second one is going to be a rear delt fly. So the delts are the shoulder muscles. The rear delts are the back of the shoulder muscles. What we're going to do is preferably use dumbbells. Standing nice and tall, hip width apart in the feet, soft knees. We're going to hinge the hips back. Palms face each other. And turn a bit so I don't punch the wall. Straight arms are going to fly open into this T position. We're working with 12 reps total of these rear delt flies. Again, we want the arms straight. Although if you're stuck with weights that are a little on the heavy side, you can pull the weights in slightly, and you can do this with bent arms if you need to, okay, to make 12 manageable, because this is not a strong set of muscles. The back of the shoulders, the rear delts, they are quite weak actually. So again, if you don't have an arrayment of weights, you might need that slight bend in the arms to make 12 feel possible. All right, so that's our second one. Last one is going to be a bench dip. Welcome. We're not getting away without doing these. 15 reps total of our dips. These ones are all about the triceps. We have a little bit of work in the chest muscles. We want to tuck our shoulders back so that they're in that set back position, lowering down to 90 degrees. and then we exhale and push up. Straighter legs is harder. Okay, we can even go all the way straight, or bent legs is easier. So you can find a sweet spot in there in order to make 15 it. Okay, again, we want 15 reps total. Those of us who don't have a chair or bench, you probably have a wall, so you can do your wall tricep extension like this and go through your 15 reps total. All right, and then we're gonna do it again. No rest in between, my friends. So once you're finished, we are right back into our wood choppers. Grabbing onto that band, that dumbbell, and hip width apart in the feet. You want to grab onto the band, loop that hand over, turn the torso, and then exhale, controlling that 4-second return. Exhale as we go up. 1, 2, 3, 4. Once you've found that tempo, we're going to try to mimic it every single rep through our 10 and 10. And again, this one is core. So we should feel that work in our core and our torso, even a little bit on the sides of our abs as we go through this rotation. If you're not feeling that, you're most likely turning the legs and the hips. Again, we want to make sure that the hips stay square so that we're actually twisting through the torso rather than moving the hips, okay? Because if you're doing that, you're just kind of going through the motions and we're not getting that rotating benefit. And that applies again to bands as well as the dumbbells, that we're using. All right, there you go. So we'll work through this second set. Now, option for those of you who don't have dumbbells, or again, maybe your dumbbells are simply just too heavy, because that is completely possible for this rear delt fly. We can always grab onto a band and work with a bent over band pull apart instead of the dumbbells. It's going to work the exact same muscles. And again, we have lots of room for play here. If I hold the band closer together, it's going to be a lot harder. Okay, if I hold it a little bit wider, it's going to be easier, more manageable. So you can really, again, manipulate it a bit more than using it if you don't have one. All right, so let's do it again. Back to our rear delt flies. And almost a little bit excessive with that setup, but it goes a long way, hinging the hips back. We want to make sure that we're not parallel with the floor, sort of up on this 45-degree angle, and then we're opening up into that T position, trying to have as much control as possible. We're most likely not going to have to think about anything, the pauses, slowing down, just following a normal tempo. So 1, 2, 1, 2. That 2 seconds up, 2 seconds down, that is our standard, but you already knew that because I talk about it all the time, unless I specify otherwise, like on the wood choppers. We have that 4 seconds. All right, so as we finish up those, the dips, we're doing 15 of them, which is quite a few for the dips, and we've done maybe more in the past. But these 15 reps, we want to, again, keep them as even as possible. Recently, we've been challenging these dips. We've been kind of going into lower rep ranges and talking about ways to make these harder. So if you're somebody who has straight legs and you're doing these and 15 is still kind of easy, what you can do is find something to elevate your feet. You can grab a second bench or chair, a stool, position yourself with your couch there or something to elevate your feet. And that is going to add more weight to your body, make these 15 way harder, which again, we probably might not need to do, but some of us might want to do. All right, so let's do it again. We have 2 more rounds. 4 sets is our theme that we're following on these supersets on the circuit. So we'll go through this set here, third, and then we have 1 more after this one. Let's do it. Okay, so 4 seconds. Taking our sweet time and trying to think about drawing that belly button into your spine so that we're not arching our back. We want to keep everything in nice and tight here, and that's again going to help you get more direct work in your core. There you go. Another way to increase the challenge of this one, specifically if you're using a band, is if I am to move further away from that banded mount point, the band's now tighter, so it's going to be a lot more challenging than if I'm closer to that mount point. So if you need a little something to sort of make it feel a little bit more in here, if you're locked in, if you're rotating and you still want to make it a bit more challenging, that's something that you can do, is just take a tiny step away and see how you feel. But remember, we have to do it on both sides. Keeping it even as possible. Okay, so 10 and 10. Oh, very nice. Okay, through these. Perfect. On to our third set of our rear delt flies. So anytime we are talking about the rear delts, the back of the shoulders, we're thinking about correcting our posture and promoting good posture, which is why we do so much stuff for the upper back. That being said, it's important that you're feeling it back there. If you need to feel it a little bit more, we want to think about squeezing our shoulder blades together every single rep. And that should be happening anyways, but again, sometimes we need a little reminder. So this is your reminder. You can imagine that something is between your shoulder blades, and as you pull those dumbbells up, we're trying to wrap those shoulders together around that something. So a little something to think about on your last set. We're going to get these dips done, and then we have one more round, and then we are laying on the floor, working our core muscles, of course. And no side planks. We had so many side planks already this week. But maybe there are some regular planks. We'll see. We'll talk about it when we get there. Don't want to get you too excited now. All right. So we'll get these dips in. Again, remember to set the shoulder blades back before you start your set. 15. And then we are going through our last round. Set. And we have about 5 minutes until we really should be starting our floor core work. Pop up, there we go. Okay, so again, we will take our time with it on this last set. Okay, so back to this first one. Maybe you want to make it a little bit harder by stepping a bit further away, wrapping that hand over, and then exhaling and crossing up and over top of that shoulder. Again, 4 seconds. Let's get it. And yeah, there's a little bit of sneaky shoulder work on these wood choppers. We've talked about it before. But again, we should feel lots of direct core work in these ones. So again, trying to brace our core, pull our belly button in a little bit more on this final set. All right, and as you, my friends, are finishing up this last set, I am going to quickly set our timer for our final part, which is the last part of today's class. And it's on a timer, which is nice. It means you don't have to count. This is all the counting that we have to do in this last circuit. Perfect. Okay, so we have about 2 minutes until we should be starting this final part on the floor, where we're going to stay down there the whole dang time, working with our core work. So we'll finish up this last circuit nice and strong, get those choppers done, then we have our rear delts. Final set. So again, we're doing 12 total. You want to make that 12 feel challenging. Make sure we're squeezing the shoulder blades together every time we pull those weights up. Maybe a little bit more on this last set, now that I've reminded you of it.
12 times. And then we have our last set of our dips. Potentially the hardest ones. I don't know about you, but I always find dips extremely challenging no matter how much I do them. But again, we should be getting the triceps going on here. 15 reps total. And then we are done here. We have one more part, which is all core work. All floor core. All right, so we'll finish up the dips. 1 more minute. And then we are going to move on onto the floor. And my phone has 5%. I don't know how this happened. My charger must have not been plugged in, but I think we're good to go. Turn the brightness down. Okay, so as you finish up, grab some water. Yay! We're done the upper body. We are moving on to the core work, which is all down on the floor. We will need some equipment, including that anchored band. We're going to start off with our first exercise, which is our overhead banded dead bug. So this is one that we should know by now, as we do it quite often. We're going to lay on our back here. We are going to be on a timer, so don't get too excited about starting yet to have it press start on the timer. But I want to show you guys this one, because again, you'll need to kind of get in a specific position for it. We're going to take this band and pull it over, lift up our legs, and we should feel work right away to keep our lower back onto the floor. If you're not feeling that work, what you can do is sort of scooch away from that mount point and then try again and see if you can get that feeling going on. So maybe a little shaky here. For those of us who don't have this band, we can take our dumbbells, lift them up, and then we're going to drop them back slightly, which is a little opposite from the band, but it's going to give us that same tense feeling in our core. So for us, we're going to spend 45 seconds holding that band or dumbbells, working with a dead bug where we send one leg out at a time, right leg, left leg, 45 seconds. I'm going to press start on this timer in 3, 2, 1, and let's go. Starting this first set, we will have 3 other movements that we are going to do with this one, but I'm going to show you those ones on our 15 seconds in between our working sets. So here we go. Timer started. Important part is us keeping tight contact with our low back. So if there's any space under there, you're not doing this right. We want to tighten that up, pull our spine down to the floor, and keep it there the entire set. If you can't quite do that, you can try lowering the legs, keeping them bent, rather than straightening and reaching out with a straight leg. Okay, let's keep it going. 3, 2, 1, and rest. So for the next one, we're going to just let that band sort of go down. We'll put the dumbbells down by our sides. Second one, we're going to stick the legs up in the air, point the toes down towards the face, triangle in the hands, straight arms, reach behind our head, touch the floor, and then exhale and crunch up towards the feet. This is going to be us for the next 45 seconds. So we want to make sure that, again, we're touching the floor, exhaling, shoulder blades leave the floor, and again, the entire time, that low back is tight to the floor, especially back here when we're reaching over our head. You don't want any space under there. So let's do it. Going through this one and trying to keep the legs straight, although they are slightly bent because, you know, we are not that flexible to have our legs completely straight, and that's okay. Slightly bent. Most important part is that we're moving the shoulders off the floor, and then now you can rest. Okay, so we're gonna flip over for the next 2, holding a plank with our plank walks. So this one is potentially the hardest one. High plank position, down onto the forearms, and then we push up onto the hands. Down with the right, up with the right, down with the left, up with the left. Trying our best to control the hips. So if you can't quite do this one, because I get it and it's very challenging, what I want you to do is drop down onto your knees, make sure that hips are down in our plank, and then you can do this one on the knees if need be. Because I get it, the upper body is quite worked. Just got a pop-up going on here. You guys keep it going. Keep it moving. There we go. 10 seconds left. Very nice. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Rest. But don't go too far because our last exercise of the circuit is a strict plank hold. So we're going to go down onto the forearms and stay there for 45 seconds. Starting in 3, 2, 1. Let's go. Holding this here, breathing, trying to align the elbows so they're right underneath the shoulders. Should be looking right between our wrists. And we're trying to practice that parallel forearm position. We don't want our hands pushed together. We want to separate the hands and just hold and breathe and do whatever you got to do to get through this set. If you're really struggling, you're not going to make it, you can try widening up your feet slightly. But I want all of us to hold a plank no matter what, okay? I know you can because we've held planks longer than this. We've done other stuff crazier in the plank position. So let's try to breathe through this. 3, 2, 1. And now you can rest. And we're going to repeat. We have 2 more sets. So we just did 1. We're going to do 2 more to make it 3 rounds total. Okay, back to the first one. That overhead band hold, dead bug. Again, if you're not using the band, we have the dumbbells. And let's go onto our second set. Let's do it. So we'll work through trying to exhale as we send the leg down. As we feel, that's the hardest part, it is. So we want to use that exhale in our favor every rep. Take your time with it. 1 leg at a time. We're not seesawing back and forth and bicycling. We want 1 leg to go out, return to home, other leg to go out, return to home. Inhaling, exhaling between every rep. 3, 2, 1. Rest. Good job. Okay. Band down. You can put those dumbbells down, whatever you're using. On to the second one, our toe touches. Although I know it's called a toe touch, we're actually not going to touch our toes. We're just going in that direction. Triangle in the hands, behind the head. Exhale, shoulder blades leave the floor, and let's do it. Now for this one, if you want to make this one harder, very simple. Don't touch as close to your feet. We can leave those arms behind the head. Woo, and you'll feel the difference. Back here, like this, we still want the shoulders to leave. Overcoming in front, like this. It's going to be a lot easier reaching towards the feet than it is reaching towards the ceiling above your head or even behind your head. Yeah, keep it moving. 10 seconds left. I know, don't underestimate that. A little change, it goes a long way. 3, 2, and rest. All right, the planks. I know, maybe the hardest part. We put it second, we put it last. Woo, we're gonna get through it. Starting again off with our plank walks. Ready or not? Let's go. High plank position, get down on the forearms, up on the hands, trying to alternate which side we do. So we go right, left. I know it's a little bit of brain work to coordinate those arms, but we're also getting some tricep work as we push up off the floor. This muscle has to do a lot of work to do so. So we want to make sure that we're evening it out and getting work on both sides, as it can be kind of easy to just do one side. And you know, I'm all about keeping it even and not promoting our muscle imbalance that we usually all have. 3, 2, 1. Rest. Nice work, my friends. Okay, the plank hold. Potentially the hardest one, just because we just did basically a plank hold, although there was a little bit of movement. This one, there is no movement. 3, 2, 1. Let's go. So we're trying our best to hold this. Again, if you're not going to make it, widen up your feet. The wider the feet, the wider our base of support is. So usually, in theory, makes these planks feel a lot more manageable. On the flip side, if you want to challenge yourself, walk your feet so they are touching close together. Again, brace your core. Think about pulling in your belly button to your spine. Try to be active in there this entire plank hold. 20 seconds left, guys. You got this. It's not going to be easy, but you can do this. You're going to feel so good after we're done and you held all these planks. 5 seconds. 3, 2, 1, and rest. Okay, here we are for our final set. We are done with a couple of quick stretches that we're going to do together. 3, 2, go. Starting back with the dead bug. 3, 2, 1. Let's do it. Again, pulling that band over the shoulders, dumbbells, dropping behind the head, and let's go. Again, alternating our legs, making sure our back is tight to the floor. Most important in this last set. So you're the most tired. We're starting to really feel worked in our ab and core muscles. So it's kind of easy to pop that back off. This is me reminding you that that is not right. So we want to pull it down, push it down to the floor as much as we can. And hold it there. 10 more seconds left. Breathe. You got this. 3, 2, 1. And rest on that one. Okay, the toe touches. The deceiving name, toe touches. All right, we're on our back. You already are. Taking a couple of deep breaths. Making again sure we have some space behind us. Legs up, and let's go. So again, if you tried that little challenge version, not reaching your arms up, we're going to do the same thing on this next set here. Reminder that we want to keep our chin tucked in. There are muscles that run down the front, back, and sides of our neck. So you might feel some work happening in your neck, but you're going to feel it a lot less if you tuck your chin in. 20 seconds left. My phone is at 1%. Is it going to last? I think yes. 10 more seconds. Let's do it. Breathing. We're almost there. 3, 2, 1, and all right, flip over the planks. And we are done with core work. Plank walks. Starting in 3, 2, 1. Let's go. Forearms, pushing up onto the hands. Reminder that we want to place that palm right where that elbow is. So wherever your elbow is, we're going to take the hand, put it where the elbow is, and push up from that position. 30 seconds left. Maybe it might feel a little bit harder doing it like that, but that proper technique, and we're going to try to lock that in for this last set. We got this. 15 seconds. We can do this. Just like my phone can stay alive on this last limb here for our finish. Breathing. 5 seconds left. 3, 2, 1. All right. This is it. The plank hold. Let's get into formation. You're already there. Couple deep breaths. You're gonna need them. 3, 2, 1, and let's go. Holding it here. Last exercise of today. Last bit of core work for this week. Plank, holding it out for 30 more seconds. You can do this. Yeah, you just gotta breathe. That breath is gonna guide you through. Don't hold your breath. Doesn't make anything easier. Counting your breath, we're gonna go through maybe about 5 more deep inhales and exhales, and you will be there. Okay, holding it strong here. Again, maybe challenging yourself, walking your feet together. You have to widen them up, whatever it is. 10 seconds left. You have this. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and time. We made it. Okay, don't go too far because we are gonna stretch it out, starting off with this cat-cow. So we're gonna get in this all-four position, work with this rounding of the back, taking a big inhale, and then exhaling and arching our back. We're gonna do this 3 times. Again, rounding with an exhale, inhale, and then we exhale and arch. Every time we move, we wanna move with breathing out. 3 times. 1 more of those. This one feels quite nice after all that stuff we did for our back, for our core. When we're done those 3, we're gonna sit down on our heels, walk our fingertips away, take our right hand, put it on top of our left,
And then we want to turn and look underneath that left armpit or the bottom hand. We're going to hold this here for about 30 seconds. And there goes my phone. Look at that timing. I just die when the timer goes off. Love it. Meant to be. All right, so we're going to hold this here. Good thing I got a running clock up on our screen there. Breathing through this, trying to exhale and lengthen our back muscles. Holding it. Okay, so coming out of this one, we're going to put that hand back. Take the left hand, put it on the right, and then now we'll turn and look that other way underneath that right armpit. You can rest your head on that arm. And again, take those nice deep breaths, and you'll feel this stretch down the sides of our back where we did all that work, all those rows and Supermans and pulls and all the things that we did. We're going to hold this here and breathe into it. Okay, so a couple more deep breaths. We have one more stretch that is quite important to do. It is for our hip flexors. So you can come on up into our half kneeling position. Again, if you want the support for your kneecap, like me, if you have a really thin mat, I'm going to double, triple up my mat like this so that my kneecap is not sore. I'm actually going to turn to this side here, because what we want to do is feel the stretch in our hip, and then we're going to take this hand and reach it up and over our head. And I do recommend you hold on to something, whether it's a wall or a couch or your chair or your bench. And then now we'll feel a stretch not only in the hip, but also running down the side of our core and our back as I reach this hand up and over. So I'm just going to turn to the front so you can see what's happening. We want to reach up and over, slightly pushing this hip out towards that side. And again, we'll feel that lengthening stretch down the side of our body as well as in our hip. And reminder why we do this hip flexor stretch so much is because these guys get really tight because of everyday life. We sit, we drive, we're always in this sort of shortened position. And plus we train them. We work them in our core work, in our leg work, like for example yesterday. So we want to take time here to lengthen out the hips and then of course our core muscles. So we'll take about, again, 2 more deep breaths. I'm actually going to turn all the way around so that I can switch. Same feeling in the hip. And then again, we'll reach that arm up and over the side, slightly push our hips over away from that wall, and hold this here for about 30 seconds. So as we're holding this stretch, this is going to be our last one. But if there's any other stretches that you want to do, I'm going to talk about a couple of them. If you want to do one more set of that cat-cow, of that back stretch, or even of this one here, if you are feeling tight in the hips, you will benefit from that. So we'll relax out of this one here. The last stretch again that you can do is a little bit for your upper body. We can reach behind our back and open up our chest and shoulders. Maybe go within our door frame, get a little bit of stretching in the front here. But you, my friends, are done with me on this here Thursday, April 1st, April Fools. But no joke today. That was a great session. Thank you guys so much for joining me, and I will see ya next time, okay, hopefully tomorrow for our leg day. Have a great day. And my replay watchers, drop a comment below so I know you were here and I know you got this done, and I will see you next time on the next replay, probably, aka tomorrow. Okay, have a great day, you guys. Bye.